Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. It's nice to see you after the amazing race. I hope you had fun, and it's wonderful to have you here today. So today we're going to do the What's Next session, which is all about the New Roots orientation, which Todd, Laura, and Emily know way more about. So I'm going to pass off to Todd. Thank you.
Awesome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. Hey, everyone. Again, I'm Todd. I'm the AD for Student Life. Welcome this morning, on my time anyway. Yeah, as Todd mentioned, we're on our last day of 2 weeks of programming of our New Journeys experience here for everyone joining us, whether it be international students, IFP students in the country, outside the country. So welcome to our last day of this program. But because there's a lot of stuff going on getting ready for the start of school, we also wanted to kind of showcase for you what's the next step in this journey for you. And so with that, we have a couple things we're going to walk through today. So what our goals are for the session today really is to do 3 things. One is to help you understand what happens next after this New Journeys program. We've been kind of coming back and seeing each other every day at 9 a.m. Eastern. What happens next? We also want you to understand some of the benefits of engaging in the first year experience at New College, and we'll explain what that means a little bit more. I'll share more about that. In terms of the next piece, we're also going to share what presence looks like and how you can register for our New Roots, New One-Time orientation. And so with that, I'm going to pivot to our next slide here. And I know that Laura had to step out for a quick moment, but she'll be right back. A few of us in the room today. So there's myself. I'm Todd. We've met a couple times already. I'm the AD for Student Life at New College. That means I oversee all of the transition programs, incoming first-year students. But I also have 2 awesome counterparts with me today, one of which I'll throw to Emily and then Laura when she joins back with us. So Emily, over to you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Emily. I'm one of the orientation coordinators for New Roots this year. And yeah, I'm excited to meet you guys, and I'm hoping that I'll see some of your faces at New Roots orientation next week as well.
Awesome, Emily. And Emily, sorry, Emily, what year program are you in? I should have asked you that as well.
Yes, for sure. No worries. Currently, I'm going into my 3rd year. I'm studying a double major in political science and economics with a minor in computer science.
Maybe I'll introduce Laura gently and I'll let her do herself for justice more. But Laura is our other orientation coordinator, working hand in hand with Emily. The 2 of them are an awesome team and working hard all summer planning. What we'll share with you in a moment is our virtual program, our virtual orientation program. And so Emily, you know what, I can support as we kind of go through this if Laura is out, but no worries about that. So yeah, that's us. We're the folks that are kind of planning and working on this program, getting ready for what is next after New Journeys. Okay, so first off, we have 2 questions that we're getting from a lot of students, particularly from international students, is what is orientation, and then what actually is New 1X, New One Time, what does it actually mean? And so Emily, maybe if I can have you kind of lead us off on that. What is orientation? What does that actually mean?
Yeah, for sure. Orientation is a lot of things, that's for sure. But I would say first and foremost, it's an opportunity to get acquainted with the college, the university. We set up events throughout the week for you to make new friends and learn about the university's resources. So it's essentially what the title is. It's an orientation towards the university, the college, and everything you could need to know for your first semester and first year at U of T.
For sure, and I think what's really important to know is the word orientation doesn't always translate in the different languages. So a phrase we often use with orientation as to replace it is like welcome week. So it's that welcome, as Emily mentioned, that introduction to a lot of really important connections, resources, and a chance to meet a lot of friends, which is really exciting as well. So whether that be in an in-person format like usual, or even this year in a virtual format, Emily's going to share with you a little bit more our schedule as to how we're going to do all those things this year. And so each year we do a theme for our program. We try to make it reflective of the time, what students are feeling, what we think is really important is going to resonate with them. And so Emily, maybe you can explain what New 1X means or New One Time and why we chose that, why you chose that.
Yeah, for sure. So New One Time, which as you can see is stylized as New 1X, represents basically the new opportunity of first year and the chance that you only experience it once. So hopefully this theme encourages you to be a little fearless, push yourself outside of your comfort zone a little bit. So whether that's attending unique a week programming or stepping out of your comfort zone, joining clubs. So yeah, it's essentially a theme that hopefully will encourage you to try new things, take new opportunities. As the name implies, you only go through things once, and New One Time embodies that.
That's awesome. And just to add on that too, I think what's really noteworthy is that we're all like, not even just your fellow students, which is usually the case, right? Orientation week, we're all going through this together for the first time. Even us as staff and as upper year students are also going through this for the first time. And so I think that was like maybe an accidental coincidence, but it definitely has come to make more and more sense as our theme as we go throughout the program and the planning this summer, as Emily can attest to. Okay, great. So Emily, so what we have here, obviously for everyone, we have, you may have seen this online, we hope that you have, but we have kind of that snapshot of the schedule. And so maybe Emily, what I was hoping you could do for us is to kind of highlight two things. One is just what are the types of programs that people can expect? And then are there any really marquee ones that you think people should be looking out for?
Yeah, for sure. So in terms of the schedule breakdown, there are three different categories of events, I'll say. So firstly is the foundational events. These are pretty staple events that we've held in previous orientations, and they also translated into a virtual format. They're staple pieces like the opening ceremony, closing ceremony. We have Mythbusters, which is like a panel of upper year students. So it's like a Q&A panel. Yeah, there's a lot of different foundational and staple events that are also on our virtual O week. Sorry, I'm referring to O week, but by that I mean orientation weeks. Yeah, and then there's also our academic events. So these are held in conjunction with our Ignite program or academic orientation program. And they're spread out throughout orientation this year. So you'll see that a lot of the events are like related to learning at U of T and in post-secondary, and these are all academic sessions held by the Ignite team. And finally, there are social events. So this is pretty self-explanatory, I think. It's a chance for you to meet new people in your year, and socialize with them, get to make some friends. We know that this year, with everything being online, some of you might not be attending classes in person, so it's even more important to, have these opportunities to make connections and reach out to people. So these social events are the place to do it. So yeah, I can highlight some of like the key, events. So maybe I'll start with, since I was just talking about social events, I think I'll talk about one of the events that I'm most excited for. I think if you look on Monday, August 31st at 7 to 9 p.m. EST, we're hosting our video games night. So this isn't possible usually with an in-person orientation, but with an online orientation, it also gives us new opportunities to try new things. And one of this is the video games night. We're going to play a lot of different games like League of Legends, Valorant, Animal Crossing, FIFA, Call of Duty. There's basically a game for like everyone out there. You can find a full list on our Presence website, which we'll talk about later. And yeah, in terms of academic events, I would point a staple to Wednesday, September 9th, succeeding in September. So this event is basically a preparation and rundown of first semester of like the deadlines you can expect in terms of like when midterms are. It's a really good way to get set up for first semester and anticipate what's ahead of you. So highly recommend that academic event. And in terms of foundational event, I'm going to point everyone to September 7th on Monday, the New Views event. So typically we have a campus tour in person. Obviously that can't be done this year, but we're still doing our best to try and show you around campus for maybe like if you do have some in-person classes, or if you maybe go to campus in the winter semester or even like in 2021. This is our way of trying to help you navigate through campus, even for in the future. So there's going to be a virtual campus tour led by upper U students. They're going to give you like tips, advice on like the different buildings, things that they've learned throughout their undergrad experience. So this is a great way to get learned applicable advice and stories from upper U students right from our team.
That's amazing, Emily. Thank you. And so it's interesting because I think it was yesterday, no, 2 days ago on our Instagram account, and we'll show this in a little bit. But we had a contest, and on the contest, it actually said, list the program you're most excited for. And so, Emily, I have the list up in front of us here. I'm seeing things like video games night. I'm seeing like the new views, the virtual campus tour on there, games night again. Family Feud was on there, and then I'm seeing a lot of the academic Ignite programs, so like reading efficiently, preparing to seating in September. So like each in some of the schedule, but if there are any questions about the schedule or what a program maybe looks like or entails, we're going to take questions as we go, and so you can also always put them in the chat, and Emily and myself can respond to those. But yeah, that gives you a little bit of a snapshot. Last thing I'll say in the schedule is that if you'll notice, it's a 2-week schedule. So typically orientation week is singular, but due to the fact that we're going fully virtual, we've understood, and we made this decision a long time ago, that sitting in front of a computer and going through sessions can be quite tiring versus being on campus and being immersed in it. And so to make sure that we're not overwhelming people with information, we're making that choice to do it a 2-week program. So if you look at other colleges at the university, they might not all be doing that. That was a choice that Emily and Laura thought was really important. And I couldn't agree more. So yes, you'll see that it's a long program, but you'll see that beyond the first day and perhaps even the second day, it's quite spaced out. And so hopefully you can make time to connect with those at your leisure, because we'll talk about in a little bit what recording for these sessions look like as well. Great. So any questions, obviously feel free to fire them in the chat, but I'll move ourselves along. Okay, so Emily, so oftentimes what we get from students, and you know this, we've been getting this a lot through the summer over email or through our social media accounts. There's some common questions or frequently asked questions that we're getting from students. And so I was hoping I could ask you a couple of these and you can kind of respond, just in case people in the audience are thinking the same kind of thing. Okay, so first and foremost, so like, the orientation have a cost. How much does it cost to attend?
Yeah, so we're happy to announce that New College this year, for the first time ever, we're doing a free for charge, oh my God, that doesn't make any sense, sorry. Free of charge model. So yeah, basically that means orientation is free. There's no cost for registering. You just have to sign up and you'll have access to all the programs. So yeah, I encourage everyone to do so. There's no harm, even if you only go to a few events, to just, put your name down, register, and get access to all the amazing resources that we provide. We do a rundown of a lot of things, and it's also a great way to make friends, like we've mentioned earlier. I won't list off the reasons why you should register, but essentially, cost-wise, it is free. So if you have any barriers to cost or finances, this basically means that you don't have to worry about that anymore.
Mm-hmm. That was a big change this year for sure, Emily, and I think it was worthwhile. And well, we've seen that our registration numbers are in the hundreds, 500s or so right now. So for those that haven't done it yet, there's nothing going on at this time of the year. Like the whole university kind of goes quiet to let orientation happen. So no stress, no reason not to. Next question, and I think Laura might be joining us, but I'll give her a second to settle in. So second question here, Emily. So, okay, great. I did what you told me to do. I went online, I registered, it's good to go. Like, now what? What should I be waiting for?
Yeah, for sure.
Laura, so, you getting some feedback on your mic. But go ahead.
Okay. So, yeah, after you register for Presence, one thing to note is that it won't give you like a confirmation email. If you log in, it'll just say that you've registered. So the thing that you'll have to wait for and what you can expect is a welcome email from both the Orsal team and also from your peer leaders like a day later. So these will include important info like your orientation welcome package. It's going to include a welcome, obviously, from your peer leaders. These are upper year students that have been assigned to mentor and guide you guys. Peer leaders will also be able to provide the link for for your first group time call. So everyone in orientation is placed into a group of fellow incoming students, and each group is headed by a few peer leaders, and these peer leaders will reach out to you, provide a Microsoft Teams link to the first group time call on Monday, August 31st at 10 a.m. EST. And yes, Todd, thank you for putting down in the chat the acronym for ORSL. Yeah, so that's from like the pro staff team. You'll get like details about like any applications you need to do, sort of like housekeeping things, and then there's going to be an official welcome from your peer leaders.
That's awesome. And yeah, just to kind of understand, to kind of just underscore it one more time. Yeah, so ORSL team means the Office of Residence and Student Life. Those that can't see the chat, that's pro staff like myself. So you can get that email first, followed by, as Emily mentioned, from your upper year peer leader, who will be your support throughout the summer, has been, and into the school year. Awesome. Last thing, just kind of underscoring it one more time, Emily, is the group time definition. So essentially group time is kind of like that cluster of people that you'll be with throughout the program of the New Roots program, the New One Time program, for the next 2 weeks. So you'll have the same students you'll make friends with, you'll see them in the same check-ins in the mornings, those kinds of things. And you'll have the same peer leaders throughout the program as well. So there's a constant, is kind of the point what group time is. Welcome back here, Laura. I'm going to give you one more second to kind of catch your breath here, and I'll give you the next question, but I'll let Emily tackle this one here. So, so kits, what are kits? And then is there a virtual kit, a physical kit? What's the difference? Talk about kits for us.
Yeah, so kits are essentially our complimentary gift from us to you. It includes a lot of cool new college swag. This year, because things are obviously online, we've decided to actually do 2 offerings. So we have a virtual kit and we also have a physical in-person kit. So I'll talk about the virtual kit first. The virtual kit has a lot of really cool content curated by our marketing, promotions, and sponsorship team. There's like custom Zoom backgrounds. We have Instagram filters, Facebook camera effects. There's Animal Crossing swag, which I personally really love. We have curated playlists for you guys as well. So there's a lot of really cool personalized content that you will receive in your welcome package, in your welcome email after registering. So that's where you can find the virtual kit. Yeah, and then for the physical in-person kit, we're doing this on a pickup basis after September starts. Essentially, whenever you're comfortable or whenever you get on campus, even if it's like next year, these kits will be waiting for you to pick up. They include some really cool physical new college merch. So we have like your new college and orientation shirt. We have a custom bandana for you, and we also have a really cool new college lanyard. So even if you aren't on campus right now, we highly encourage you to keep these items in mind, and whenever you feel comfortable, to come to New College and pick them up.
That's great, Emily. Yeah, and I think what this is the thing to share too. Emily mentioned like that orientation shirt. That's a big tradition at the college. Is that first year incoming students get their yellow New C shirt, and so we didn't want to have a class that was in a virtual space miss out on that opportunity. So it would be a little bit logistically difficult and expensive for us to mail it to every single person throughout the world, given how international we are. So we thought, you know what, whenever you do come on campus, whenever that may be, as Emily said, myself and my team will be able to provide those to you whenever you come on campus. But yeah, super stoked and really excited about what the virtual kit looks like. That's going to come in an email to you probably when? This weekend then, Emily?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, most likely.
So you haven't missed that yet. That will be coming, and so we'd encourage you to, like, you know, if you want to share a post, a story, like whatever it may be, tag us and put some of that cool stuff on display there as well. Great, Emily, thank you. So Laura, welcome back. I'm going to pivot to you for this next question here. Laura, a question people often write to us is, hey, I can't make it to the session because of a time zone or a personal conflict. Will all sessions be recorded?
So not all of our sessions will be recorded. So like more of our social events, for instance, like games night, trivia night, etc. They won't be recorded. However, we will be recording all of like our informational sessions. So our session, like our Ignite academic sessions, that I'm sure was discussed earlier, those will all be recorded as well. Like our Mythbusters panel, that's our panel with all of our upper year students, that will be recorded too. But just something to keep in mind is that we've tried to like accommodate our schedule as much as we can for different time zones. So most of our main activities are in the morning and in the evening. So hopefully you'll be able to attend as many as possible.
And yeah, and just to look at Laura's point right there, you can see there aren't too many late Eastern time programs. So it's not too bad. But we also understand that people are coming from different places, so for sure. Great, thank you, Laura. And then the last question back to Emily. So if people have been writing to us saying, hey, classes start toward the end of, sorry, New Roots. What do we do when classes start in regards to this program?
Yeah, so we have 2 days of programming that overlap with the beginning of classes. After classes start, orientation is completely optional in that it's drop-in. It's totally by your schedule. You are in no way mandated to attend any events if you have class. We actually we encourage you to go to class. Some of these will be recorded so that they're waiting for you. So not to worry, after class, you can always check out the recordings to see what's happened at the event.
And you can drop in, as Emily mentioned, you can come and join late, or you can leave early if you have to as well. Great, so again, any other questions people have about the program, toss them in the chat, but I think that hopefully answers a couple of the main ones people had. We had a little bit more information to share as we kind of round out our conversation here. So really, I think people are curious, and they ask us every year, like, why should I come to orientation this year? Why should I come to New One X or New One Time? And so we had kind of 3 main things we kind of wanted to share with people. I mean, I could pull out the data for you and show you that people that attend orientation programs are more likely to, sustain for the first 6 weeks of school, which is usually the most difficult for the students deciding if they want to stick at the institution or not. It also indicates higher graduation rates and grade point averages. These are all demonstrated in research elsewhere, but I think also hearing from the 3 of us for more personal reasons, I think could be really helpful as well. So I can start with our first one here, and OCs feel free to chime in and build on this. So we had 3 main reasons we want to kind of share with you. The first is the orientation mission statement. So I think just to kind of know what's really neat this year is that Emily and Laura thought it was important to kind of reflect on our why. Oftentimes things get done because they're traditions and they're fun, and we always did it that way. But we thought it's a really new year and a different delivery format. We got to think what our purpose is. And so 3 things kind of came out of this. One is this goal of trying to connect, connecting students by creating shared experiences that are meaningful and build a foundation for your first year. So it's not just about orientation week, it's about looking at the full year ahead, and hopefully by attending our program, you'll have a chance to be ready to have that foundation for your first year. The second thing is preparing students for their version of success through communicating and modeling the importance of a balanced student life experience. If you look at the schedule, it's not all academic, it's not all social, it's not all foundational programs. There's a nice mix. And so we want students to have that well-rounded, that holistic, that balanced student life experience, because that's how students thrive at the University of Toronto. And so we want to prepare you for that, for whatever your version of success looks like. Not what we tell you, what mom and dad tells you, what the GPA thing tells you what it should be, whatever your version of success looks like. And then finally, support. We want to support the growth of incoming students by empowering them to seek out experiences inside and beyond the classroom, as well as facilitating access to these opportunities. We realize that inside and outside or beyond the classroom looks really different this year. And so we wanted to think through what that could be, the types of programs that we offer. Hopefully by attending our programs, you'll get a little more confidence and exposure in terms of what you can expect in your first year, and therefore know how you can go into a classroom or perhaps see some opportunities outside of those virtual classrooms to know how to get connected. And so one thing that comes to mind for me is we have clubs and groups. We have like a clubs fair. You're gonna have a chance to get some connections outside the classroom. We're gonna facilitate that access for you. And so, yeah, we wanted to underscore those ideas of connecting you, preparing you, and supporting you as you navigate and enter your first year. So that was one thing I wanted to kind of share. But I also wanted to have some personal OC anecdotes or stories. And so maybe I'll just pivot to each of you folks to kind of give us a little synopsis there, Emily, perhaps about your orientation story that you think is worthwhile, what people should consider attending.
Yeah, so because things are so different this year, I won't go into like a specific event that I had at orientation, but more so like my experience and the emotions that like I got from it. I would say orientation was a really meaningful experience and time for me because it was the first time that you really got to see like the the expanse of like people at university. It was the first time that I think that I really felt that, wow, this is like my new community. Like everyone there was so welcoming, so friendly. New College especially, I think you'll find that we kind of have that reputation around campus, and for a good reason. Everyone really does try to make you feel welcome, and orientation is the best and like first place to really get to feel that emotion on such like a large scale. So I think I would say like that. I hope that feeling is recreated for you if you do decide to attend. Um, there's going to be a lot of there's going to be an opening and closing ceremony that will hopefully tie you into that community feeling. I'm hoping that you'll find more intimate connections during group time, and yeah, that feeling of community is really what stands out for me the most during orientation.
That's awesome, Emily. Thank you. And I'll pivot to Laura here if you have anything you want to kind of share as well.
Yeah, so in terms of my orientation story, orientation definitely resonated with me in the same ways I think that Emily mentioned. For me, it was a little bit scary at first. Like it was my first time, coming to Canada. I had never been away from my family or all my close friends before, but like as soon as I sort of, met my group, I felt like a sense of like, like calm and like safety almost. And I really truly believe that it was like a really pivotal point for me to empower, like it really empowered me to take on new experiences at university and like new leadership opportunities, which is how like was motivated to get involved in orientation and other programs like within the college and also beyond the college. So I think it was just a really pivotal moment for me, and I hope it is the same for all of you as well.
Awesome. Again, I think what's really cool is the students that take leadership roles in our community, like they believe in the community, they believe in the work. And I think that's been like very evident this summer with Laura and Emily is like really thinking through how do we have student voice is a thing they've always been preaching to me all summer. And I'm so grateful that they've been asking those questions. How do we have students, how do we meet them where they are? And how do we do the best job we can to make our program meaningful in the ways that we can deliver it? And so I think just want to let's give an appreciation to them as you go through the next few weeks is knowing that like their leadership is what actually has made this all kind of come together. So that's super, super awesome. Okay, and then the last thing I kind of wanted to share here is just like understanding that it's the next step in the first year experience. And maybe you've been hearing this a lot, maybe you haven't, but I'll kind of do a bit of a synopsis here. So the first year experience in New College is relatively new. It's new this year. And what that means is we've had all these programs for multiple years, but they were siloed or they were independent of each other. But with some reflection of myself and my team, we thought it was really important to have a continuity piece as you move your way through your first year. There's a lot of instability and transition. And so how do we have some solid foundations of support throughout? Orientation is an amazing program. But what happens when orientation's over? New Journeys, a great program, but what happens when it's over? And so that's what we're kind of trying to illustrate to you how they all connect. And so what you can see here are what we consider the first year experience and the way that you can kind of flow through it. The New College Summer Welcome sessions were sessions that I was facilitating over the summer. So maybe you recognize my face and my voice from those conversations. We had them with some academic supports, our library folks. We had them with our New College Student Council, student leaders, so on. And they were kind of just giving you that like snapshot, that open house, what is New College about, kind of get your feet wet a little bit. At the same time, you were probably also getting emails from your upper year peer leader as part of our e-mentorship program. And if you didn't get those, you definitely received them. So go back and check your email, scroll back for a little bit. for My New Roots. You can keyword that, the words My New Roots. And so there's an upper year student who is ready to connect with you and answer questions and give you a little bit of personal insight as to what you can expect moving the way through the summer. There's one more coming, I believe, on Monday is the last one you'll get. There's 7 issues you'll have had this summer. But from there, you've now found us here, Tyler and myself, at the New Journeys program, which is so awesome. And so this is kind of that third step in that first year experience. Understanding the international transition is a unique one, and Tyler has spoken at length about that in the last 2 weeks. But now we're kind of coming at our next turn, our next opportunity here. And so that's where that New Roots or that new one-time program begins. And that's what Laura and Emily lead. And I would say is one of the hallmarks or one of the most prestigious experiences of the first year. And so, yes, that's what we're kind of brokering onto, which is super exciting. And that runs for 2 weeks. But then next, we also have the Sprout Mentorship Program, where that same upper year peer leader that was working with you for e-mentorship will also, for the most part, not in every case, but for the most part, be working with you as part of New Roots as your peer leader in orientation. And then they're going to stick with you throughout the fall and winter terms as your peer leader as part of the Sprout Mentorship Program. And so I think what we're just trying to illustrate here is this is just the next step in that journey, that next step in that process. And so we really encourage you to stick with us because it's going to be worthwhile. You're going to have a lot of chance to connect and build that foundation. And so if you look at our logo there, we rebranded last year. This may also be familiar with the words that Emily and Laura had as part of their mission, is this idea of connecting, preparing, and supporting. The intersection of all 3 of those is what student life is at New College. That can be a little bit high level thinking. The point being is that those are the things you can get out of being a part of our programs. So hopefully that encourages you to come check us out. Okay, so last thing here, and so I'm not sure if maybe Emily, if Laura's on mobile, might be a little bit easier if you can try this for me. If you want to pull up the registration link to that, I can provide the link in the chat for folks as well. Can I copy this from here? Nope. Emily, if you can maybe pull it up if you don't mind and pop that in the chat when you're ready. But I'll also explain a little bit here as we kind of wrap up our conversation about registering. We know that people have been writing to us on Instagram, on Facebook, and on via email saying, hey, my user ID doesn't work. Or, hey, I'm having some trouble. It says user not found on presence. Or, hey, it's a little bit laggy. I'm not really sure. Is it my end or is it the platform's end? I wanted to address a couple of those really quickly as Emily pulled up the link. First off, we are aware that some people's usernames are not being found or there are some errors. The reason for that, I won't get into in great detail, but essentially at one point in the summer, you're switching from your join ID to your uTour ID. And when that happens, our system gets a little bit confused. We can easily fix it. We just need you to write to us with your uTour ID and your student number to the email address at the bottom there, new.studentlife@utoronto.ca. If you've already written to us, we're just give ourselves a day or 2 to kind of catch up. We're working on these one by one. This is a new platform for us, and so we just ask for some patience as we kind of work through that. The other thing, though, I think that was just notable is that presence. Oh, presence! I'm loading it, but it's like says warming up or it's loading for a long time. We also are aware of this. Our server is getting a lot of people coming onto it for the first time. We're not used to that, and so we're working with our vendor to kind of see if we can fix that up. But just stay patient; it will load. And so just stick it out when those laggy bits maybe happen. A tip that we've found to kind of navigate this is you actually open a new tab versus just clicking on links in case you have to go back. Not perfect, but we're working through an unperfect situation here as well. I'm seeing 2 things in the chat. So Tyler, thanks again for including the sign-in link. Yes, this is sign in for today's session is what Tyler is referring to there. So if you haven't done that already, please track in there with a quick response. That would be great. But then Emily, thank you so much providing the hyperlink to the presence form. And so I'm wondering, Emily, if you can maybe take over for a second and just show people what that looks like when you click.
Yeah, for sure.
Great. I'll
Okay,
stop
I'm
sharing.
gonna share my screen then.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'll stop sharing.
Okay, so.
And as Emily does this, we're going to close this out with what questions you have. So if you have anything else, put it in the chat or we'll have a chance to debrief that at the very end. We're almost finished though.
Okay, so if everyone can see my screen,
Yep.
This is the registration page for orientation. So it's pretty standard, like student info, any location info. We have time zone accommodations, or as best as we can, we'll try to match you up with a peer leader that has a similar time zone so that you'll be able to meet and talk with them. Um, and yeah, this also will ask if you're in the International Foundations program. It'll enroll you in certain programs. If so, if you do click yes. And yeah, I'm not sure if there's anything else Laura would like to add.
No, I don't think so. I think that covers, yeah, the registration. It takes like only a minute to sign up. So definitely do that after the session if you haven't already, if you want to join us on Monday. But yeah.
Awesome. And I will say too is, let's say you miss something, let's say something comes up, it's busy. Oh, sorry, Sarah, great question. So if you feel something similar, we consolidated this year for the first time. It was way too much work before for both our New Journeys program and the New Roots New One Time. So if you do this one time, if you did this one time already, pardon the pun, then you're good to go. So no need to repeat that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, any other questions on that? And then Emily, while you're sharing, maybe it's easiest if you just go back to the what's next and share your screen to full screen and go to the last slide.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can do that.
It's just, or I can take back over, whatever works for you. We have the same window up. I'm happy to do it though if you want.
Yeah. Okay, I'll stop sharing and let you take
Okay,
over.
great. So I'll do that there. Okay, so just reminding, so you can see now. Yeah, you can see now. So just reminding folks, if you have any questions, contact us. NC orientation is specifically about the programs we're talking about today, but for first experience at large, you should also be following Life at New. The email addresses corresponding to those two teams, new.orientation@utoronto.ca or new.studentlife@utoronto.ca. So be sure to check those out or write to those if you have any questions. And then I'll close with this. What questions do you have? Because we're embarking on a lot of new things, a lot of challenges, a lot of new stuff. And so you have 2 upper-year students who have been through it, they're running it, they know the way around it. And so we wanted to kind of just give some space before we close on what you can maybe want to get some curiosity and get some of your concerns answered. So what do you want to know? It could be about this or it could be something about more broadly. Okay. Sorry, my chat thing froze there. I can't open the chat. Can someone read to me the question?
Yeah, I'm seeing a question that says, when is the last day to join clubs?
Maybe Laura, you run it. Emily and you both run clubs as well. Maybe you can give some insight and I can add to that.
Sure. Yeah, so I mean, I think every organization on campus is a bit different on how they do like their recruitment and things like that. But in terms of, you know, best what I've seen and what I do at my one of my organizations that I work with, we do recruitment like on a rolling basis. So our general membership program is open like year round. You can join at any point. So I'm part of the U of T Women's Association. So that's what I'm referencing. But that's what I've seen on most pages thus far throughout the summer. So I haven't seen any deadlines.
I would say just there are occasionally deadlines if you're running for a position, like a first year rep, they may have elections at a certain point. But if you just want to be a member of a club, then no, I think Laura's right. I think most people let you join it whenever you want. And then maybe just building off that question, Emily, anything else want to add to that one?
Yeah, so I know that the UTSU, the U of T Students Union, is hosting their own version of Clubs Fair after like ours. So New College, we're highlighting the clubs that are typically like hosted within at our college, but there's going to be like a university-wide Clubs Fair held after orientation. I believe it's going to be a drop-in basis from the end of September to the beginning of October, and they'll have like a schedule for all the clubs that are going to be essentially doing like drop-in sessions. So if you're interested in any of them during that time period, you can come to the UTSU Clubs Fair and check out the different clubs they have.
Mm-hmm. And great point there, Emily. There are a lot of New College clubs, but there are also a lot more on campus. We have about 18, 19 clubs that are located within the buildings of New College. There are about 900, I think, on campus with all 3 of our campuses. And so, Tyler, I'm not sure if you got my message there, but just wanted to kind of note to you We can pull up, or maybe the OCs can help me with this, just pull up the link to U of T U Life. They kind of just share people in the link if they're curious about a club, because I think there's a lot of curiosity about that. Someone also direct messaged me asking, should I contact the email to join clubs? So you wouldn't write to us to join clubs, you'd contact the emails of the clubs you're most curious about. So those emails we listed are for just getting involved in the orientation program or first year experience. But if you want to get into a, maybe like the Badminton Association or the Bangladeshi Students Union or whatever it may be, thanks Tyler, that's perfect. And so that might be, if you have a more nuanced interest, that's where you would check. So Tyler just put in the chat, ulife.utoronto.ca. You can just keyword search by interest. That'd be a great place to find out what clubs look like on campus. And clubs are working full capacity in remote setting, as Laura and Emily, I'm sure, can attest to. Okay, I saw another question here. Is orientation obligatory for IFP students? Tyler, maybe if you want to kind of just jump in here, coming from the IFP point of view, if you don't mind.
Absolutely, yes.
Thanks.
So orientation is not mandatory for anyone, but it's highly recommended. You won't only be interacting with IFP students throughout the year, and next year, when you successfully complete the IFP, you'll obviously be coming in as a first-year student. So we do highly recommend that students do get involved with New Roots orientation. Again, it's not mandatory for everyone, but we think it's a really great opportunity for you to get connected with other students and also benefit from all the ways that Todd was talking about earlier.
Mm-hmm. I think it's really important to note is that, like, as Tyler mentioned, the university, the IFP, like New College, we don't mandate these programs because this is part of your transition. You're now like an adult. You get to make the choices you want to make. And so if that means that for your success, as the mission or the mission statement of the OCs earlier says, what is your definition of success? So if that means not going to the program and doing something else at the time that's worthwhile, then that's your call. We're happy to support you in that and make those decisions for you. But we're saying that we think this is a good decision if you want to take it. But there's nothing mandatory as part of our programs. Great question, by the way. Okay, other questions for our amazing OCs or even Tyler and myself? I'll give people a second to type. We're also pretty good for time, but we'll wrap up here shortly. So I guess as people maybe are typing, if you do have further questions and you're like, shoot, I missed the chance. Laura, Emily were there, I could have asked them. Write to us here. Okay, so some people already have, Follow us on Instagram, follow us on Facebook, or like us on Facebook, email us these accounts. That's how you can get your questions answered. A lot of people have been doing it, which is great. Just encouraging people to continue to do that. So yeah, I think that's pretty good. So I'm not seeing any other questions right now. So what I might do is wrap it up there. Any final shots, any final comments there from the OCs, Emily and Laura, before we call?
I do see another question in the chat, actually. Okay. It says, for students joining in January, I understand there might not be an orientation again, but will there be some sort of other event instead?
Sorry, I missed that. Great question. And I'll be fully honest with you, is that we are trying to figure that out. And admittedly, our focus right now is to get through the month of September. And at that point, by the October time, we'll start rethinking about what the next entry looks like. Two things I'll say is, if you're coming from out of country, you're going to be having to quarantine for 14 days. We have a quarantine program, which effectively is the New Journeys program in many ways. So if you've been tuning into this, that's great. But we also have some other light quarantine offerings for those people that are joining at that time. In terms of welcoming back to campus, though, we are very aware of the fact that students, not just incoming first-year students, are making a transition back to campus. And so the university is trying to think through what we want to do to welcome all students back to campus. All this to say that we are thinking about it. We have nothing concrete and locked in at the moment, but that you can expect there to be something of some kind, although I don't think it'll be nearly as robust as the New Roots 2-week program we have here. It wouldn't be like that, but it might be a day or two on campus to kind of get people reacquainted. So not for sure, but something that we're trying to think through. Great question. Thanks, Laura, for flagging that. So with that, I'll say congrats to each of you. Kudos to you for making it through our 2 weeks of our new Journeys program. A big appreciation and gratitude goes to my amazing colleague, Tyler, for holding it down for the last 2 weeks. I've been doing a lot of different things. Really excited to welcome you to our community, though. And so just, we know it's going to be a challenging year. And every year it's always challenging to be an incoming first-year student. It's going to be a uniquely challenging year. But the biggest thing is going back to staying connected. So we have these opportunities. Peer leaders are reaching out to you. Respond to those emails, follow those accounts on social media, come to the sessions, watch them later if you can't attend them live, because that's how you're going to stay connected. That's how you're going to build that community. That's how you're going to sustain and thrive in your first year. And so with that, I'll say looking forward to seeing you at New Roots New One Time over the next 2 weeks. We have our opening ceremony on the 31st of August, so super excited about that. And looking forward to an amazing year with each of you together. Thank you, everyone. Take care of each other, and see y'all soon. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all.